Good afternoon. During the declared emergency in the City of Toronto, Committee of Adjustment virtual public hearings are being conducted by electronic means through WebEx, an online digital platform, and streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel. These measures are necessary to comply with physical distancing requirements and a provincial order that limits attendance at public gatherings. This will be a virtual public hearing, and participants who have registered in advance will be able to make their presentations to the committee using WebEx, an online event that is being moderated by city staff. Anyone wishing to view the hearing may do so by watching on YouTube. Participants who have registered in advance will be connecting either by their computer, a phone or tablet app, or by telephone. All participants will automatically be muted on entry. When your item is called, each participant will be unmuted by the moderator, one person at a time. Only the committee members will be participating by video. Any registered participants will be participating by audio only. We ask that you also mute your devices until you are called on to speak. We acknowledge the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. In accordance with sections 45 and 53 of the Planning Act, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment of the City of Toronto is called to order. The Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances from the provisions of the zoning bylaw that applies to property, permission to extend or alter lawful non-conforming uses, and consent to sever property to create new lots. Anyone in attendance today who wants to receive a copy of the decision of the committee on an application must submit a written request for a decision by email. Please ensure you include your name, address, and email address, because Committee of Adjustment and the TLAB will be sending notifications and appeal updates by email. If you do not agree with our decision, it may be appealed to the Toronto Local Appeal Body, TLAB, or in some circumstances to the Ontario Land Tribunal. Appeal instructions are set out at the bottom of the decision of the committee. Today, I will call each item in the order listed on the agenda. Where an application is uncontested, the agent or applicant will proceed with the presentation if required. The committee may ask questions and/or take the matter into committee for a decision. Each speaker, including the applicant agent, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee. I will comment when you are reaching the 5 minutes. When addressing the committee, please state your name and address and confine your remarks to the matters outlined in the application. The applicant or agent will present the application first. Please note, the committee may not entertain revisions to proposals at the hearing today. If the application is substantially revised, the committee may decide to defer it to ensure the revised application is accurate and all those entitled to notice of the application are informed of the changes. Then, individuals in support of or opposed to the application will be invited to speak. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they have finished their presentation. When all other speakers have finished, the applicant agent has an opportunity to rebut issues raised by the speakers. This will mark the end of the discussion. The application will then be taken into committee for a decision. Are there any declarations of interest of panel or staff for this afternoon's time slots? Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer, have you any requests for deferrals?
None that come to mind right now, sir.
Thank you. Are there any files to be closed?
None today.
Thank you. First item is number 21, 32 Duarte Road, Park Road. The purpose is to alter the existing two-story detached dwelling by constructing a one-story side extension at the rear. With this application, we have material submitted by the applicant, Julia Bork.
Yes,
Can we have your name and address, please?
yes, Julia Burke, 338 Waverly Road.
All right, thank you. I don't think we need a presentation. Do you have anything to say before I take it into committee?
No, we're good. The neighbors, the owner was able to get signatures from every single neighbor on the street agreeing with their proposal.
Okay, thank you. Panel, do you have any questions or comments, or do we have a motion?
Yeah.
Yes, Joanne.
Okay, we all had our hands up, but I'll go. Through you, Mr. Chair, I believe this application is indeed minor. They're adding 22 square meters, very minor addition. I think it meets the 4 tests. It's not out of character. And I would move to approve the application with no conditions.
We have a seconder. So here, all in favor? Have your approval. Thank you very much. Number
Mr. Chair, I'm having a little trouble hearing you.
I'm speaking right into the microphone. Maybe we should change them around or something. You think you can change? Or maybe we can move that one here. Because maybe there's something wrong with this one. Okay, testing 1, 2, 3. Is that better, Barbara?
Much better.
It is? Oh, it's a microphone. Okay. Whoops. Yet. Okay. Barbara, which one's 22? Because I've got 2265 Beaconsfield Avenue, and yet it's numbered 23.
It should, so item 22 is actually 219 Rexley Drive.
Okay. 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 Number 22, 219 Rexley Drive. Purpose of the application is to maintain the existing eating establishment with retail ancillary uses within the ground floor commercial portion of the two-story legal non-conforming commercial and residential building. And with this application, we have material submitted by the applicant and support from 15 addresses in the vicinity. Mr. Peck?
Good afternoon, committee.
Yes, can we have your name and address for the record?
Absolutely. My name is Tyler Peck from W&D Associates, 90 Eglinton Avenue East, Suite 970. We are the planning consultants and applicants on behalf of the owner.
So there's no opposition, and it seems relatively straightforward, but but by the flurry of support and letters that we got, I think you should explain this. How did we get to this position where somebody's not trying to shut them down, but asking them to come to the committee because they're not operating with permission?
Certainly, as by way of explanation, this unit and this building is an existing commercial building which is located within a residential detached zone. The property is occupied by a mixed-use building which has had continually operating legal non-conforming commercial uses for decades. However, because the use on this site did not continuously include an eating establishment, it was determined through review and extensive discussion with City of Toronto building staff that a variance would be required to permit the continuing existing use on this property. That's why the application is before you today. This actually originally originated from a zoning review as a result of a business license application. The site has been in continuous operation as a commercial unit prior to the enactment of both the East York bylaw and the City of Toronto bylaw. But despite this fact, it is zoned residential detached. We understand the position of Toronto building staff is that the legal non-conforming permissions for a commercial quote-unquote use under the former East York bylaw didn't encompass an eating establishment, as it wasn't a defined term in the bylaw at that time, and therefore this minor variance is requested. And as outlined in the materials, it's relatively straightforward. It has received the support of, by my last count, with admittedly late submissions, 35 community letters of support, as well as the counselor, and no objection from community planning staff. I can go through the 4 tests.
Oh, I don't think it's necessary.
I don't think that's necessary. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so panel, do you have any questions? Yim?
No, I don't have any question. I'd like to move a motion. It seems that the neighborhood really like cut as full. And I think we need to move for approval here. There's no
Yes.
condition.
Okay. Do we have a seconder? Yes, Nimrod. All in favor? All right, you have your approval, sir. Tell your clients we're all coming over for lunch.
Thanks very much.
Okay, now, okay. Number 23, Beaconsfield, at 65 Beaconsfield Avenue. The purpose of this application is to alter the existing 2-story townhouse by constructing a 2nd-story side addition at the rear and a rear 3rd-story addition with a rear 3rd-floor deck. With this application, we have material submitted by the applicant, and we have correspondence in support from 63 and 67 Beaconsfield Avenue. Mr. Silva?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. It's Mario Silva, the agent on this application for 65 Beaconsfield Avenue.
We have your address, sir?
It's 100 Uxbridge.
Okay. I don't think we need a presentation. I'm gonna take this into committee. Do you have anything you want to say before we take it into committee?
No, I don't think so. These are 2 minor variances. I think we are okay.
Yes, thank you. Panel, do you have any questions? Have any comments? Or do we want to have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'm prepared to put forward a motion for approving the application. I think it's essentially makeover of an existing structure, and from the renderings, it looks like it's a much improved one.
All right.
So I move that we accept the application and approve it.
All right, seconder, Joanne, all in favor? Nimrod, all in favor? All right, you have your approval, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 24, 18 Elms, Thorpe Avenue. The purpose of this application is to construct a 3-story detached dwelling with an integral garage, front porch, rear 1st-story terrace, and a 3rd-story deck. With this application, we have material submitted by the applicant and correspondence from urban forestry, traffic planning, transportation services and ravine and natural feature protection. Ms. Kuhn?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
We can.
Great.
Okay.
My name is Monica Kuhn. I am the architect and agent for the owners, and my address is 12 Sackville Place.
Okay, could you give us a little presentation, because we seem to have some opposition.
As far as I know, we have one letter of opposition. We are proposing to build a new house on this lot. We went through an exercise of trying to maintain the existing house before we came to the new house, but given the way that it's sited on the lot with a very narrow driveway and a large garage taking up the back, and also the fact that the ground floor was quite high off of grade, and the second floor roof was making all of the second floor ceilings were sloped. It was, by the time we got what we wanted, we were, cutting most of the house down, so it just didn't make sense to keep the existing house. This house is on a ravine lot, and we've been working with forestry, urban forestry and ravines from the beginning, as well as transportation. And we have no issues there. All the applications have been submitted. We've circulated the letter that you have on file to all of the surrounding neighbors that would have received notification from the city. The only person that was questioning the proposal was number 12, Elms, Thorpe. I'll get to that in a minute. In the file, we've also submitted a series of photographs of more contemporary houses that have been built in the neighborhood over the last 10 years, just so that you can see that this is not something that is unusual for this neighborhood. And I've also submitted, yeah, that's right, great. I've also submitted a list of previously approved committee of adjustment cases within a 4-block or 5-block area of this property, showing that many of them have gone in for additional gross floor area, as well as length, widened driveways, bigger roof terraces, et cetera, et cetera. So I think what we're proposing is not out of line with what's happening in the neighborhood and what's been previously approved. I can go through all of the variances if you'd like. Would that be helpful?
I
Or do
don't,
you want me to address the neighbor's letter first?
no, we'll have the neighbor is going to speak, so you can address him after he's spoken, may change his mind on some issues. The only thing I'd like you to comment on is the area, is variance number 4, the area of the 3rd-story deck at 36.45 square meters.
Right. So we feel that off of the 3rd floor at the front facing the street, this deck is not an issue. I can see that from a planning point of view or a neighbor's opposition point of view, a deck at the rear overlooking neighbors' private backyard spaces might be an issue. But in this case, it's facing the street, and it will provide a lovely space facing east. And it's also set back, the 3rd floor is set back into the middle of the house. So it's really not creating any shading into either front or backyard areas. So.
Okay.
I don't feel that it's creating a negative impact to either the street or the neighbors,
Okay.
given where it's located.
Panel, do you have any questions? Okay. Let's move on to Mr. Bellini.
Oh,
Mr. Bellini is not on the line. I've tried to call him twice and sent him an email, but I haven't heard back from him.
Okay, so we'll skip him. All right, Ms. Kuhn,
Yes?
Mr. Bellini is not here, so we're going to go into committee and consider the application. Yes.
May I address the neighbor's letter from 12 Elms Thorpe? Was that who Mr. Bellini was speaking for, or I didn't realize anyone was going to be speaking?
I don't know who he was speaking for, because all it says is, does say agent.
No, he's
I
for
think-
the next item.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Oh. The next item, it's not even numbered. Yeah, okay. Oh, I see, all right. Sorry. Okay. I think, Ms. Kuhn, that we might have some questions. I don't think you need to address the neighbors' concerns at this point, All right, Yim?
Fine.
Yes, I have one question. As a variance number 6, did the transportation asking to have it reduced to 3.42 meter?
Yes, that was already taken care of.
Okay.
We revised our site plan to maintain the existing driveway width at the street, and then it widened out once we passed the trees in the front. So you can see that angle there.
Yes, so do we still need that variance or
It's
you already
the
revised it?
3.4 is our current driveway width. The bylaw requires 3.2. So we still have a variance, but it's an existing condition
Number
at the
6
street.
it says it's 4.9. That's what I could
Oh,
confuse.
sorry, the 4.9 is beyond the front of the property as we're getting close to the stairs and the garage. Because of where the garage is, I have to come in from the existing curb cut and then angle towards the garage door. So that's where the additional width comes in, and
Oh.
transportation is fine with that condition, but obviously it's still a variance.
Oh, okay, now, yeah, you explained. Thank you very much, yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Yes, Joanne?
Hi, you presented one example in your pictures of a balcony at the front. That balcony is tucked in under the roof line. Is there any other examples of front balconies that, of the size that you're proposing that you could offer that exists
think
in the
there's-
neighborhood?
I don't know of any other ones in the front. I mean, I'd rather have, because of the third floor, I'd rather have a balcony that's usable space that could be planted with a green roof or something than a flat roof. So it's really a matter of, that the space is usable as opposed to just being flat roof off of the third floor. There was a precedent for a larger balcony, or platform of 20 square meters, but I'm not sure whether it was at the front or the back.
This is 36.45 that you're requesting.
That's right.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, but
welcome.
is it actually in the front, or is it more to the middle of the house?
It's right at the front of our house.
Okay, all right, Nimrod, you had a question?
Yeah, I'm wondering whether you consulted with your adjacent two neighbors on either side and,
Yes.
relating to that front balcony.
Yes, both adjacent neighbors my clients met with both adjacent neighbors and showed them the plans. And there was no issue.
Thank you.
Okay, any further questions or comments, or do we have a motion?
Yeah, I do have a comment. I think if we do take a motion forward to approve, I would like to have it tied to the site plan, because it then shows the driveway dimensions, because one of the variances is for a very, very wide driveway, and the site plan shows that dimension is actually only for a small part of the driveway.
I agree, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's right. Okay, so, are you making a motion, Nimrod?
Sure. Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the variances subject to conditions of urban forestry 1 and 2, and tying it to the site plan as well.
All right, you second that, Yim? All right, all in favor? You have your approval, Ms. Kuhn, thank you.
I don't see forestry conditions for this.
Yeah, I had them too.
Did you? Okay.
It's in the supplemental.
Yeah,
Oh, okay,
I think it
that's
was
fine.
in the
Thank you.
supplemental. Number 25. 2 Frank Crescent. The purpose of this application to alter the existing 2-story detached dwelling by constructing a side 2-story addition, a side deck, and to alter the 1-story side detached garage by constructing a 1-story front addition. On this application, we only have material submitted by the applicant. Mr. Bellini?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm
Can
sorry.
you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. I'm sorry I had you on the other application. But,
Okay, not a problem.
okay,
I think you'll find that most of these variances are very minor. We're just adding a small addition to the rear of the existing house, complementary to the style and massing of the house and height. And we're just taking the back portion of the front of the side garage, the detached garage, and adding it to the front. I realize that we have a variance on that front yard setback, but I think you'll find that it's very minor in nature, and the height is a little bit over the required maximum height, but it is a slope roof, and I don't think it causes any major issue with respect to the neighbors or in keeping with what's existing in the neighborhood.
so,
So I'm
Miss,
here to answer any questions you may have.
all right, my first question is, can we have your address for the record?
Oh, forgive me, it's 202A Oakdale Road, suite number 2.
Thank you. Panel, do you have any questions? Okay, do we have any comments, or do we have a motion? Joanne?
Okay, I think this is rather straightforward. The variances being requested, in my opinion, are minor, and they aren't out of character with what exists in the neighborhood. If my colleagues have no further comments, my motion would be to approve the application with no conditions.
Do we have a seconder? Here. All in favor? You have your approval, sir. Thank you. Number 26, 138 Pickering Street. The purpose of this application is to widen a portion of the rear driveway. For this application, we have material submitted by the applicant, a report from planning, and 12 form letters in support. Tanzlir Rahman. Do we have somebody on the line? Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, this is Tanzil Rahman. My address is 10 Tinsel Place, apartment 705, Scarborough, M1L, 1K9.
Yep, okay. I don't think we need a presentation, Mr. Rahman. Do you have anything to say before I take it into committee?
Like this minor variance, like my client is in the old age, okay? They are near about 80, and they have to move the car, and his wife is handicapped. Okay, so the garage is 4.32 meter, and the width of the lot is 7.62. So this is the question, like he has need more space to move the car.
Yep, okay.
We do have someone here in interest.
Pardon?
We do have someone here in interest, Caesar.
No, well, all neighbor are okay, you know, neighbor are okay. We get the letter and submit the letter, and all neighbor is okay for this minor variance.
Okay, I don't have anybody on my list, Barbara, for,
On the speakers list, there's a Caesar at 138 Pickering Avenue.
that's the owner, I think.
Yeah, this is the owner, he can.
Oh, sorry about that, sorry.
I do
Okay,
have a question.
yes,
I've got a
Nimrod.
question. Yeah, from the photo that was submitted, it looks like the entire rear yard is already hard surface. So what actually is going to change?
No, it's already built up the driveway with the interlock.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Yes, Joanne?
With the
So I would note,
interlock
I would note from a review of the application that the application that was part of the original for variance and consent already allowed permission for a wider driveway to 3 meters. I do note that it appears that what we're being requested for already exists. However, planning has some comments with respect to concerns. And I had some concerns with respect to the reduction in the rear landscaping that would result from this increased driveway width. And I just think the whole backyard looks like it's paved, and it's not constructed of permeable pavers. It's solid pavers, and I have some concerns with respect to the width of the driveway beyond. It's more than twice what's permitted under the bylaw.
Okay, well, I'll tell you about a lady I met the other day. We were walking by her house, and she had artificial grass. And she said she also had it in the back because her husband was handicapped and in a wheelchair. And every time he went out in the backyard, before they put in the artificial grass, he sunk in to the soft backyard every time it rained. So that's why they put in this. So I can understand why, in this case, they're going to have less soft landscaping than required. So we have, yes, Yim.
Mr. Chairman, can I also add, because I also went through the explanation by the applicant, saying that because they're elderly people and they actually prefer gardening, that's why they put on the raised planter so that they can garden instead of the bent down. And I think that the reason also they do not know whether they can maintain the lawn.
Yeah, they are old.
Yeah.
That's part of their explanation.
Okay, do we have any other comments? Do we have a motion? Jim?
Yes, since there aren't any comments, I understand this is already being built and is raised for very specific need, and I would like to move for approval. And I don't think there are any conditions.
Okay, do we have a seconder for the motion? Is that here?
I'll second that, Mr. Chair.
Okay. All in favor of the motion for approval? Okay. Joanne, you dissent? Okay, you have your approval, sir, thank you. Number 27. $354.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah, yes.
for this item, I have in my notes that they've deleted variance number 5, where they're going to ask to do that. But then they've reallocated some of the floor area to different parts of the house. And I have a concern that that could impact on neighbors because they wouldn't know or see the plans showing where that extra GFA is. It could impact height, different things like that they haven't gotten to see. So I'm just cautioning the members about that.
So, would these changes affect the notice?
So he's saying no, but by reducing the one variance or deleting it, they've put the floor space index and coverage in different parts of the house where they weren't originally. So that could impact a neighbor's perspective if now there's an extra part of the house that's larger that wasn't there before.
So the plans will have changed,
Yes,
and the neighbors haven't seen the revised plans.
correct.
Okay, well, and we have lots of opposition.
Yes, we do.
Okay, well, let's see if it makes any difference. So this application is number 27, 354 Woodmount Avenue. The purpose to alter the existing one-story detached dwelling by constructing a two-story addition with a front second-story balcony. In this application, with this application, we have material submitted by the applicant, a staff report from planning, opposition from several addresses on Woodmount, and 33 signature petition from various addresses on Woodmount and 2 addresses on Plains Road. Ms. Khan?
Hello.
Yeah, I got it. Are you Mr. Khan?
Yeah, I am Imran Khan, architect and agent for this project.
Okay. All right, would you give us your name and your address, please, and your presentation?
Yeah, my name is Imran Khan. My address 1906 Parkside Drive, Pickering. This is the proposal for the addition of the ground floor, side and back, and also addition of second floor and third floor. We are creating one new garage. This existing house doesn't have any garage. For this purpose, mostly we added the part at the side of the building. And from the beginning of our design, basically we had research on the already.
May I interrupt a minute, Mr. Chair? I'm sorry. I just wondered if we could have clarification on the point that Barb raised, because if the drawings have changed with respect to the building, I'd like to understand that before we get into the merits.
Okay. Sir, can you tell us what changes you made?
Yeah, our first proposal that was submitted for permit of adjustment, we had the front yard setback 3.14 meter, whereas the required maximum
Yeah,
minimum,
Mr. Khan, we understand that changes were made in the house to accommodate the fact that variance number 5 was deleted. So we have some concern that the neighbors haven't seen the plans that are the current plans, because you made some revisions inside, and we don't know how that affects the notice that was given, whether you might be required to make the application over, or at least have a new notice sent out with the plans posted.
Yeah, actually the plan we revised to have we have 2 feet in the front of the building, right? We revised to take these 2 feet from the front of the building, and we extended the rear of the building 2 feet. This is the change on the plan only. Building length is same, just the 2 feet we added at the back, and we took out from the front of the building.
Okay, so variance number 5 is deleted?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, go ahead with your, talk about the variances, please.
Yeah.
Chair,
So
sir, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Is it, I'm uncertain with respect to, is it like the whole width of the house has gone 2 feet more? Because I'm concerned with respect to, given the degree of submissions we've received on this, the clarity with respect to what is being proposed in the rear now, and I'm a little uncertain. 2 feet, is it 2 feet all across and the full height of the house?
No, 2 feet for the half of the house. And 2 feet, our first proposal was showing 2 feet at the front. That is half of the house, not the full house. So that's same. It's actually not half of the house. It's like 5.77 meter, whereas the width of the house is 8.8 meter. So we have 5.77 meter extended to the back, 2 feet, and the whole house width is 8.81 meter.
Okay, so what was in the 2 feet in the front and what is now 2 feet at the back?
Mostly, yeah, that we had the second floor and third floor, the bedroom, 2 feet at the front, and we just pushed this bedroom and washroom all together at the back, and also we have a bedroom at the back of the building that is also now 2 feet. We pushed 2 feet towards the back.
Okay. So you didn't change the configuration, you just shortened rooms in one area and lengthened them in another area?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So Joanne, are you satisfied now?
Well, if the drawing that was just shown on screen, the back wall of the building is different than the back wall of the building in the plans that were part of the notice and part of what we received. That would be my concern.
Basically that because of the
No, I understand what you've said. My concern is whether or not it, given that it's different than what notice was given, I don't know whether or not that's going to change the concerns of the parties. But I leave it to you, Mr. Chair.
Well, unless we, I suppose, we'll have to hear from the opposition and see what their concerns are and whether it makes any difference. So go ahead, sir, and tell us about the variance, and then we'll move on.
Yeah, thanks. The first variance is about the lot coverage. Permitted is 35%, and our proposal is 38%. That is basically more than that coverage already approved in that on that road, Woodmount Avenue. We have 301 Woodmount Avenue, 301 Woodmount Avenue, 41%. 212 Woodmount Avenue, 40%. Those already above our whatever we are now requesting. The second one is the building height, that is 8.5 is the maximum permitted, and we are proposing 8.99 meter. That is also approved the same way in 301 Woodmount Avenue, 212 Woodmount Avenue. Both are, one is 9 meter, the other one is 10.03 meter. The third one we have for the main wall, side main wall, side of the building, there is a maximum permitted 7 meter, and we are proposing 7.46 meter. That is also approved on the property 25 Woodmount Avenue. They got approved 9 meter. Our case is 7.46 meter. It's less than what is approved. The fourth variance is the floor space index, and that is maximum 0.45 times of the lot area is permitted, but we are proposing 0.72 times of the lot area. And this is also same way approved in 301 Woodmount Avenue, 212 Woodmount Avenue. So we just kept our variances less than what already approved on that Woodmount Avenue. So we are just reasonable in our application with respect to the neighbor. If we go further to other street in that neighborhood, we have more examples, but we kept our examples on this Woodmount Avenue.
Okay. Any questions, panel? Yes, Nimrod?
Yeah, my question is, are there other 3-story homes along this portion of the street?
They have already one, that is, we have here for Woodmount Avenue. I forgot the address, but I have one 3-story house on this road, Woodmount Avenue.
So if there's only one other house, a 3-story house, then all the other houses are bungalows. It looks like, certainly from this stretch of the street. So how does that 3-story fit with the character of the street?
Actually, this is, in terms of the story, this is 3-story, but if we go for the height, we have one example for like Woodmount, 25 Woodmount Road, right? That has flat roof, and it has the building height, that is building main building height actually 9 meter, right? So what happened, our case, our roof are sloped 2 sides. So it's 7.46 is the height of the side of the building. So eventually that is lower height than that building visually, because even it is 3-story high, but visually its height is less because our roof is sloped down towards the sides. So I think with respect to the height, it will be similar with the nature of the new development in that area, because it's not looks like the bigger than the other building in height.
So
Okay,
what,
thank you.
what address did you say that house on Woodmount was? It was 3-story?
That was, I told that I forgot the address. I don't have the address right now.
Yeah, how far away is it from this house?
This is in the other block of the Woodmount.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
through you, there's, I believe it's 301 Woodmount, which is on a corner, it's a corner lot. Their 3rd story seems to be incorporated into the roofs like a dormer.
Okay, so it's, I see, but it's a corner lot. Okay. Let's move on. Any further questions of this witness? Okay, we'll move on to Ms. D'Alessandro.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, my name is Connie D'Alessandro. I live at 357 Woodmount. It is directly across the street from the proposed structure. And just to, I've been listening to your, to the information. There is no 3-story or 2-story building on this block from Plains Road to O'Connor. So there are plenty to the south of us, but there are none on this particular block. So it will definitely be out of character with the neighborhood. The other thing is it's a 3-story building, not a 2-story building that kind of gives that idea in the plans. The other things I'm concerned about myself is the actual blocking of my son. When I sit on my front porch, I will be staring at a 3-story rectangular IKEA box, which certainly will not enhance my my living here. I've also lived on this block for 40 years, and we have a lot of seniors here who would love to stay in their homes rather than have to go to a nursing home. And these are 1-story, 1-level homes that make it really comfortable for people to live here. So that's one of our concerns as well. The other thing we're concerned about is our green space. We're going to be looking at a rectangle. It's going to take up floor space. It's going to affect drainage. It's going to affect access to the property to the south of them if they want to do roofs and eaves troughs and things like that. So it's, again, I don't believe it's in keeping with the neighborhood as it now stands.
Panel, do you have any questions? Okay. Mr. Davis?
Hello?
Yeah, Mr. Davis? We have him?
Oh,
Yeah. Mr. Davis, can we have your name and
Yes.
address?
can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, sorry about that. I had a little trouble with my computer. Good afternoon. I live at 362 Woodmount Avenue.
And what's your name for
And
the
I just
record?
want to, first, sorry,
Mr. Davis, for the record, what is your name?
Glenn Davis, live at 362 Woodmount Avenue.
Okay, can we hear your objections?
Okay, my objections, a lot of them mirror what Ms. D'Alessandro just, I'll echo some of those. Definitely does not fit in with the character of the neighborhood.
Okay, but don't tell us, don't repeat what she said. We understand it doesn't fit with the character. Do you have any other concerns that she hasn't expressed or impact that on your place that doesn't affect her?
Okay, the only additional thing I would say, I have a hard time understanding to what Ms. Hayes brought up with respect to the revised plans. I don't think it's fair to the neighbors that we suddenly have this variance deleted and something about this 2 feet, and we get like 30 seconds to look at the 2 feet, the revised plans. That's all I'd like to add.
Okay, thank you. Rosalie Christampsis.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay, I totally agree with
Can we
Ms.
have?
D'Alessandro.
Yeah, can we have your name and your address, please?
It's Rosalie Christampsis, and we are at 354 359 Woodmount, which is directly across the street and to the north of the proposal. And one of my biggest concerns, as well as what has already been mentioned, is there's a number of the construction is pretty big, and there's a number of bedrooms here. I don't know how many occupants are going to be in the house. My concern is parking on the street as well. We have had lots of traffic because we're the last street before Woodbine, and we have a traffic jam in front of our house every night at rush hour because everybody's taking a shortcut. I'd just like you to know that we are having to wait to turn into our driveways with cars parking on the street. This will exasperate this situation. And also my concern would be winter snow removal as well. Like if we've got cars parking on the road, we've already trying to minimize the traffic here with speed bumps. I think that would be one of the major neighborhood concerns as well. It seems like a pretty big home on a very small lot. The bottom line is there really need for this overbuilding?
Do you have any further comments?
That's it, thank you.
All right, thank you. Any questions, panel? Okay. Michaela Fend.
Hello?
Hello.
Hi, my name is Michaela Fend. I live at 363 Woodmount, and I'm also owner of 361 Woodmount, and I have lived here since 1991 in this beautiful low-rise bungalow block. And our concern is, so I drew a scale drawing of what the proposed tower is going to be. Our current bungalows are 18 feet tall, and they're proposing a 29.6 foot bungalow tower. So our concern is, first of all, the drawing that has not been submitted with the alteration, and secondly, the house currently has a garage, which is part of the coverage. That garage is going to be demolished and added to the overall dimension of the building, which makes it more than a minor variance. And I'm also speaking on behalf of Lisa Glass, who is the owner of 356 Woodmount Avenue, who is unfortunately up north where there's no Wi-Fi reception for her, so she just asked me to speak on her behalf as well about the same reasons. And her other comment was that it will deeply affect her solar access, especially if they go back even further. And I think that is it for me. Thank you very much. Please.
All right, any questions, panel? No questions. Madalena Cutrona.
Mr. Chair, she's not in attendance. I've tried to call her twice, and she hasn't picked up.
Okay. Mariangela Fazzolari.
Mr. Chairman, how are you? My name is Mariangela Fazzolari, and I just moved in at 352 Woodmount Avenue. I have a small veranda, and I love to have my coffee in the morning outside. However, I am in agreement with all the other neighbors, but my mainest concern is that they're going to cover the whole amount next door. I will not have any access if I have to do any roof work or chimney work or eavesdrop. They're just going to block me out, and it's not fair for someone who lived at St. Clair and Witchwood for 44 years to come no other houses, that there's this monster homes coming up. It's all a block of bungalows, which I just love. And that's my thing, and I am very against it. I did. I mean, I just moved in June 15th. It's not anything else that I can say about it. I'm totally against it. I really am. And that's all there's to it, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Talia Hirsch?
Natalia's not here either.
Okay. Mr. Khan?
Hello.
Yeah, Mr. Khan, perhaps you could address the issues raised. I'm particularly interested in, I understand from the neighbors, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that there are no, that all the houses on this block are bungalows. Could you tell me where the closest 2 or 3 story building is on this street?
This is 354. The closest one is 301, right? That is the closest one.
301's the closest?
Yeah.
Okay. And are there a lot in, not on Woodmount so much as in the adjacent streets in this block?
There are basically we have in Baker Avenue.
Where?
There is 98 Barker Avenue.
I didn't understand what you said.
It's 98 Barker Avenue.
Where is that?
B-A-R-K-E-R. It's this is like there we have also there more height, like 9 meter main wall height. That is just if you Woodmount Avenue and Barker Avenue, they have the intersection, right? On the north side, east side of the intersection, we have this building. There is also height like 9 meter height of the main wall, and also there is another one in 48 Virginia Avenue. That is also nearby Mount. This is also if you go like two street on the west, this house. So it's not like that we are proposing for the first time, but it has in 2 or 3 street within the next block or the other block, we have example like this proposal already done.
Yeah, okay. All right, could you deal with the other issues raised by the neighbors?
Yeah, absolutely, because we don't like to do anything that is mostly not approved by the neighbors, right? We like to discuss with the neighbor what's their main issues, right? We can solve that, absolutely. We like to work with them, no? It's absolutely.
Okay. Panel, do you have any questions? Okay, we can take it into committee. Do you have any comments? Joanne?
Thank you. I think one of the challenges here is comes down to the character of this particular stretch between Plains Road and O'Connor, which for whatever reason seems to have maintained its bungalows. Having said that, however, there has to be an appreciation that
two-story homes or higher homes are indeed permitted under as of right requirements. So the ability to always maintain bungalows may not be something that is feasible. Having said that, I think that this application, judging from the character of the neighborhood, although the variances individually do not seem large, the examples of other homes provided are not on this stretch of street and are a little bit further away. I think that the cumulative impact of the variances viewed against the existing character of the immediate neighborhood, in my opinion, suggests that it's a little bit too much for the lot in that context.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Also, I always believe that you have to have a transition. If you're making a change from a unitary area where everything's a bungalow, then I don't think you jump to a 3-story, you jump to a 1.5 or 2-story house. So maybe it's just premature. Eventually, as you indicated, Joanne, this street is going to change, and as of right, people can build 2-story houses. So somebody's going to do that, but I don't think we need to jump at this stage to a 3-story, which will be not in keeping with the character of the area. So anybody else have any comments, or do we have a motion?
Yeah, I would agree with all those comments. And if no one else has any further comments, I'll go ahead. Sorry.
I do have some comments. I appreciate the notion of not wanting change. The reality of our lives is that the only constant is change. And notwithstanding all the concerns that neighbors have expressed, the neighborhoods in East York are changing very rapidly. So we do see renovations. These homes that were single bungalows are the post-war bungalows. We are now almost 60 years past that point. Things do change. When I look at the maximum permitted height, I think it's variance number 3. It's the maximum permitted height is 7 meters, and we're looking at a 7.46 change. And the owner of the property does have the right to make some changes. Now, the idea of transitioning from a bungalow to 1.5 stories or to 2 stories before you make any other changes, I think that, for me, that would not be the appropriate thing for me to decide on behalf of the owner of the property. So I personally do not see that there's anything amiss with the request. So it's an application that, in my mind, I would be willing to support.
Yes, Yim.
I want to just add on that. I do see the whole neighborhood is like bungalows, and I do see that if this building is going to be built, it's a bit odd. But on the other hand, if you really look at the variances and also the official plan, it's meaning that they anticipate change. At least is to the height that they allow to build to, and the GFA there's no S4 space index, and I do think that the official plan do anticipate a change in this area, and given the minor, the small increase they're asking, I really do not know I can turn this down. So I'm in support of Sahir's opinions.
Okay.
And so just my view would be that, yes, I think this official plan does recognize that there will be changes in neighborhoods, but a key element of that change is that it respect the physical character of the neighborhood. And so it's not just a free-for-all to build as high as you can, but somehow that it has to respect and fit within the context.
Yes, I do agree with the statement, but on the other hand, what they're asking is like 16 inches taller, and it's the 3% more of the coverage. To me, it fits into the idea of minor variance. That's all.
Nimrod?
So I'd like to put forward a motion. I'd like to put forward a motion of refusal of the requested variances.
Do we have a seconder? Joanne? Okay. All in favor of the motion? Okay. And so say here in Yim, you oppose the motion?
Yeah.
So you leave it all up to me. So I agree with what everybody said, that this is presently out of character with the neighborhood, but the variances are minor. Change is coming. I would be much happier this was 2 stories, but there's apparently there's nothing prohibiting a 3-story building here because there's no variance for a 3rd story. It's only a variance for height, and the variance for height is very small. So I'm not happy, but I'm against the motion of denying this request. So the motion is defeated. Do we have a motion to approve the application? Yes, Zahir.
Yes, I move to approve the application as is, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
I thought it's amended. Are we?
As provided, I suppose, as is expressed in the revised plans.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I second that.
You second it? Okay. Yeah. All in favor of the motion? All opposed? Okay. Again, so I'm in favor of the motion. So the motion passes. You have your approval, sir. Next application is number 2840 Thelma Avenue. The purpose of this application is to construct a new 3-story detached dwelling with an integral garage and rear deck. On this application, we have material submitted by the applicant, reports from engineering, correspondence in support from several addresses on Thelma, and opposition from 38 Thelma Avenue. Mr. Fleischer.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. My name is Zachary Fleischer, and my address is 425 Adelaide West, and I'm the lawyer for Adam and Amanda Halpern, the owners of 40 Thelma Avenue.
Okay, so we have opposition. We better hear your presentation.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. And before I begin, I just wanted to note that we are no longer seeking variance number 7. The variance was sought to allow the rear deck on the ground floor to encroach into the rear yard setback 6 meters. The zoning examiner certificate contained a typo which made its way into the public notice, which mixed up the west side setbacks, and we revised the plan.
Mr. Fleischer, we're having, Mr. Fleischer, you're fading in and out. So is there something you can do at your end to give us a better audio?
I'm not sure. Perhaps I should call in. So, are you hearing me better now?
Yes, we are.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. And please let me know if there's any audio issues on my end.
Yeah. If you speak a little slower, I think we'll hear you better.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So for that, we're no longer seeking variance 7.
Okay.
And the plans have been revised, so the rear yard deck no longer encroaches. So now to my presentation. I know I submitted materials, and I was wondering if the committee would be able to turn first to slide number 2. And in the meantime, for a little bit of backstory, Halperns bought the existing house at 40 Thelma several years ago after getting married and planned to start a family there. What they thought was a newly renovated home in good condition, and it looks to be in good condition from the streetscape here, actually had significant structural defects, and for reasons better set out in the application cover letter, it was deemed unsafe to live in. With their first baby on the way, the Halperns were forced to move out and endure the expense and headache of finding a new place to live and demolishing and rebuilding what they thought would be their family home. The foundation was the only portion that could be salvaged, which saves the Halperns the expense of digging a new one and avoids the potential nuisance impacts on neighbors, given the tight lot fabric. Preserving the foundation also serves to maintain the existing front yard condition and below-grade garage, as you can see here, which requires variances, but only to permit what already exists. We have prepared an engineer's storm drainage report as requested in the proposed ECS condition, which we have no objection to, and we can confirm that there are no drainage issues with the below-grade garage and gently sloping driveway. We have consulted extensively with neighbors, with Mr. Halpern inviting the 8 closest neighbors to a Zoom session on May 1st, nearly 3 months ago, where he ran through the plans and answered any questions or concerns. And we've received 5 letters of support, as you can see here, with a 5th letter of support coming from 39 Thelma after the presentation had already been submitted. We also sent a notice letter more broadly with the architect's contact information to answer any questions or concerns to supplement the city's public notice. And we've been in contact with community planning, who confirmed they have no objection to the application and they did not prepare a report. Now, if we could turn to slide 1, to the context map. The site is located in what's commonly referred to as the Forest Hill Village. It's located in Orangeville, Thelma Avenue, a dead-end street with an extremely eclectic character and wide mix of building typologies and uses. We can see that there's a diverse mix of singles, semis, apartments, all of which range in height up to 3 stories, with a parking lot and 3-story commercial building at the intersection with Spadina across from each other. This disparate mix of built forms and uses coexist with each other in harmony and contribute to an eclectic and varied character that distinguishes Thelma Avenue from other streets in the area, with 3-story apartment buildings and commercial buildings immediately adjacent to 1, 2, and 3-story detached and semi-detached homes intermixed with each other, which are immediately adjacent in and of themselves to 3-story apartment buildings. Thelma Avenue also contains several replacement homes that are extremely similar to what's being proposed, such as 18 Thelma at the bottom of the screen and 35 and 37 Thelma across the street in the top right. Now, if we could turn back to slide 2, please, we can get a ground floor view of the eclectic nature of the street. Looking north on Thelma, we see a 3-story apartment building which extends nearly to the north lot line, immediately butting 38 Thelma, with projecting balconies along the entire mutual lot line, creating an existing condition of overlook and shadow that has been present and accepted for decades, which affects 38, 38A, and 40 Thelma. Across the street looking south, we have 43 Thelma to the left, with church as a daycare with a playground behind its hedges, and 39 Thelma, and 35 and 37, which are extremely similar to what currently exists on the site and what's proposed. Again, a very eclectic mix of uses and built forms, with a playground next to a small 2-story detached house, which is next to a taller 3-story detached. Turning to slide 3, please.
Mr. Fleischer,
Yes.
Can I just ask you, what's on the site right now?
So, perfect timing, sir, because on slide 3 you can see on the left is the existing dwelling, which exists today, and on the right is the proposed dwelling.
So it wasn't demolished?
It hasn't been demolished yet. Mr. Halpern's installed shoring in the basement to stabilize the structure, but it's still standing today, but it needs to be demolished.
Are they living in there?
They are not living in there currently, no. They had to move out and are living elsewhere at the time.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir. And so you can see the existing house is on the left and what's being proposed is on the right, 3D rendering. Other than the proposal having a more modern architectural flair, similar to that of 18 Thelma down the street, these homes are nearly identical in terms of built form. Variances 1, 2, and 11 relate to height and facilitate a front facade and flat roof design that is virtually identical to newer homes recently constructed on the street, with the new home being only slightly taller than what currently exists by 9 meters. Variances 3 and 10 simply serve to maintain the existing condition, and despite being necessary as a result of maintaining the existing foundation, they're in keeping with other homes on the street and don't result in adverse impacts. Turning to the next slide, please. We can clearly see the existing building envelope outlined in the green hatching and what's being proposed, and perhaps if we could zoom in just a little bit so it's easier to see for the committee members, please. You can see the existing building envelope in green hatching and what's being proposed in purple. The new home is only slightly larger than what exists, and any marginal impacts on neighbors would be negligible, notwithstanding that both adjacent neighbors are in support. Now, if we could zoom back out to look at the variances. Variance number 4, which numerically appears to be large, but it primarily relates to the extended basement, which is underneath the rear deck. The actual depth of the above grade portion of the house is only 0.5 meter deeper than what's currently existing on the site, and is 17.91 meters in actual depth.
All right.
Now, variance 5, which relates to FSI, it's in other rules on Thelma, such as 18 Thelma, and in the broader geographic context, which I will get to in just a moment.
All right,
With respect to variance 6,
Mr. Fleischer, you're past your time. I'm not going to cut you off, but if you can move along and wrap up soon.
Yep, thank you, sir. I can conclude. If we can just go over to the next slide, to slide 5, we can see that there have been numerous similar height and FSI variances granted nearby. In fact, earlier today, the panel approved a height of 15.39 meters at 366 Russell Hill, which is just 75 meters northeast of the site. To conclude, the proposal is in keeping with the eclectic and varied character of Thelma and represents gentle change, which respects and reinforces the existing physical character of the neighborhood, which, as you saw, is extraordinarily eclectic, and it will not cause adverse impacts. The variances individually and collectively pass the 4 tests under the Planning Act, being that they are minor, they maintain the general intent and purpose of the official plan and zoning bylaw, and are desirable for the appropriate development of the site. Thank you, sir. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, panel, do you have any questions? No. Dr. Schechter?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Mr. Chairman, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good. Shall I begin?
Yeah, give us your name and your address, please.
Dr. Nancy Schechter, 38 Thelma Avenue, which is a semi-detached in the building beside 40 to the west.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I'll very quickly interject that actually the building has been around for over 40 years. It's a beautiful building built by Joel Schwartz. I know the building very well. I actually lived in the building for some time. And it's a gorgeous building that has been standing, not newly renovated, a gorgeous building that's been standing for over 40 years. That sold for about, around $3 million. So it's a beautiful building. Of course, people can want to build if they want, but people still go in and out of that building all the time and are there for a long time, even as we speak. I'm going to go through the variances. The issue I have in particular, of course, I'm going to say the standard. It affects, it's out of character, and it has negative impacts on shading, loss of light, loss of lines of sight, air circulation, etc. And so for all the variances, please keep that in mind, that I feel it failed, first of all, the first test, that many of these variances are major, not minor, and that they fail the other 3 parts of the 4-prong test. I can tell you there are 11 variances. You can go back all the way to 2004 on this street. The only variances that were ever asked for were 1, 2, or 3 variances. We have 11 variances, and are they extreme? And it goes on and on and on. I'm all for building, actually. I actually think nice new building, I don't know why they want to do it for this, but they say it has to be done. That is not my concern. People want to do that, I have nothing to do with that. That's absolutely fine. But the building is so big with the 11 variances. So what we're talking about now is a large addition to the right upper part of the house, pushing forward to the second and third floors so that they're capturing all the space, not in the basement, but up above, blocking out light, especially on that up above. There's a complete open area that they want to build on. As a matter of fact, they're including 30% more floor space, 3 more feet of height, 10 more feet of depth, top-heavy design on the second and third floor, loss of the front yard setback, loss of the front yard green space 4x4, and pushing out the house so that the house to the west where I am, which is already very narrow, as you can see on the plan, as you can see on my map, which is attachment 1, and you can also see in that picture how tight it is already. So then you're going to build out closer to there. And they did that because there's an arrangement with the other person on the semi-detached. They already are using partly their driveway and partly 40 Thelma's driveway to park. And the problem is there's been a city council appeal that doesn't permit them to park, but now we've got like this parking lot in front of the house, which is a really big problem. I'll very quickly, because I don't want to run out of time, I'm very going to quickly go through some of the variances. In all the variances on the street that have ever existed, there's only one that has exceeded that height, sort of a building out onto its own, much further down the street. And for that one, they did get a variance in height. They didn't ask for many variances. They only asked for 3. But they did get a variance in height, and that's about what this building wants to be, a height of about the same, 11.34 meters. So that's what they're asking for, but it's very high. But then everything else is brand new to them. You know, there are 10 semi-detaches on the street. I'm not saying everything should be a bungalow. There's bungalows and the rest are semi-detached. I'm not saying that they should copy that. I'm all for change and I believe in it. But it's so extreme. Some people have dubbed it a McMansion. Some people have dubbed it a parking lot. How can we help and fix this? The depth, they want 10 more feet of depth. The floor space is, again, about 1.29 times lot coverage, which is the most you're ever going to see. And they're going to build out again to the west. And I just quickly want to interject that on the east, they like their right-of-way. So the neighbors on that side, lovely neighbors, of course, it's a fine for them. They're happy. They're happy that they don't have to contend with the building there. They're just building over to my side, which is already very cramped, but they have an agreement with the guy next door to do to park partly on both sides. That's why I would like the green space maybe to separate it out. Otherwise, you're getting that parking lot appearance. Front yard setback, they're moving forward 2 feet. Landscaping, we're losing 4x4, about actually 3.6 to 3.6, and I pretty much am at the end. And I think I'm at the end. I can only tell you one other thing, that the planning committee, I spoke to them, and now there's been, in the past week, there's been a complete demo of 38A to make a parking lot. They had a height, like a big grassy knoll area. They took it all down, completely took it all down. Even though there's the appeal decision, as you see there in my attachment, that there's no parking on 38A. They have now made it a flat sort of like parking lot area, and if we can keep the green space, that would perhaps separate the two and not have it, perhaps that would help with not creating the parking lot. And by the way, he accesses his space and the sidewalk by going on our curb cuts, and it's very dangerous. He drives on the sidewalk, photographic evidence of that, and then what he does is he accesses 40 Thelma and parks on 40 Thelma.
Dr. Schechter, your time is up. You could just wrap up.
That's the wrap up. I'm done, really. And I just want to say, a little bit too large, a little too big. In its entirety, the 11 variances exceed what is the character of the street and really affects my views, and it's really encumbering my property, decreasing values. I really think the 11 is so large together, it's no longer minor, and it's the only one on the street that has asked for all that, except for one building for height.
Okay, thank you. Panel, do you have any questions? Mr. Mack?
Yes, hello.
Yes.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for having me, and I appreciate this opportunity to speak in support of the subject property.
Can we have your name? Can we have your name and address, sir?
Yes, my name is Steve Mack, and I reside at 38A Thelma Avenue. I did submit a written letter of support. So our property is situated directly adjacent to 40 Thelma. All questions that we had were clearly addressed over a Zoom call posted by Adam on May 1st, as previously mentioned, for the entire neighborhood. And his plans and our suggestions were mutually well received. It was a fantastic open forum. Recently, I was able to read into Ms. Schechter's letter, residing at 38 Thelma, just west of my property, and I was just totally baffled, quite frankly. The letter of the committee, to the committee is mostly about my property and the front lawn, and I want to emphasize that we are not making a parking pad. I have no idea where Ms. Schechter got this idea from. We are simply grading our lawn and leveling the yard. It's a gardening project. City and Enbridge came by and verified that we were okay to proceed because we are not making a front yard into a parking pad. And a proper locate report was conducted to ensure no hydro or gas line are in our front lawn. Again, I want to state that our project is simply a gardening and property maintenance, not a parking pad, no reduction in green space whatsoever. To be clear, such claims are not relevant to the subject property. So Adam had been a terrific, or still is a terrific neighbor, very respectful, friendly, and accommodating to all accounts. Being newlyweds and a newborn coming in weeks, the neighborhood feels for him and his family about discovering the structural issues and the building being condemned with the home, and they have recently purchased after getting married. 40 Thelma is structurally unsound and was in fact built by Ms. Schechter's brother some years ago. So I understand that there is a conflict of interest, but do appreciate her intentions to retain the current existing designs and dimensions. I repeat, Ms. Schechter's brother constructed the current house. The owners, Adam and Amanda, certainly deserves this reconstruction and simply get a second chance. The variances sought are minor and consistent with existing homes on the street, and it respects the character of the neighborhood. There is no negative impact to Thelma, no shadow or sightline impacts that we're concerned about being right next to the site. So we fully support the application and the positive impacts that it will bring to Thelma. It will absolutely be the best gift for this young family should staff move to approve. Really appreciate everyone's time. Thank you again, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Panel, any questions? Go back to Mr. Fleischer.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to respond to Ms. Schechter's concerns, and I would just like to clarify that she is one property removed. She's 2 doors down, and the fact that both immediately adjacent neighbors are in support of the application speaks volumes. I'd note that the parking solution, or lack of parking solution at 30 Thelma is not relevant to the application. Ms. Schechter's dispute with Mr. Mack has unfortunately left her opposed to my client as a result of their friendship. Her concerns with what she refers to as pushing the house to the west ignores the fact that we're not seeking a side yard setback. We're putting with west and east side yard setbacks, and she's 2 doors down from the proposal. In terms of what's going on, proposed landscaping. These variances are required because of differing standards that were sought previously, and there's no change to the existing front yard, with the exception of that front yard, which only relates to the second and third stories. That story is the setback is remaining
So,
unchanged. So,
Mr. Fleischer, we're having a little trouble again of you fading in and out, so perhaps you could speak a little slower. It might help, I don't know. But you were
Thank you,
better
sir.
before.
Thank you all. Is this any better?
Yes, seems okay now.
Yes. Okay, thank you, sir. So the green space in the front yard is remaining unchanged from what exists, and it cannot be increased due to the driveway that is there to the right in any event, and the variance there is extremely minor. In terms of the 11 variances, it's not the number of the variances that matters, but the impact of them individually and cumulatively. And regardless, with her comment about other applications, less variances, the number of variances today is different than in the past due to changes in the bylaw standard. And I wanted to speak lastly to her concerns about the rear terrace and her loss of sky view, loss of sun. Filling the rear terrace actually serves really to increase privacy on 38A. In any event, if we actually could go perhaps Ms. Schechter's photographs, or even just on the map number 1. There's a existing 3-story apartment building that immediately flanks Ms. Schechter's property and already blocks sun. This is an existing condition. It would have existed when Ms. Schechter bought her house. She would have known about it. And I mean, yes, perfect. Thank you very much. So as you can see, that apartment building already blocks her yard. The filling in of the balcony and the terrace, at 40 Thelma is not going to cause any adverse impacts. In fact, it will increase privacy as there's no windows proposed on the side walls. And in fact, I'm advised by my client that the terrace actually serves to attract raccoons who have been living in there and disturbing Adam and Amanda when they were living at 40 Thelma. So, I mean, they really like to fill that in regardless. But I think that filling in that rear balcony serves to increase the FSI marginally. But in terms of blockage of sun and shadow and sky view, those impacts are marginal. They don't rise to the level of adverse impact. 38A is already flanked by a 3-story apartment, and this street has such an eclectic character with a mix of heights and depths that, I don't believe that this proposal rises to the level of adverse impact whatsoever. Fortunate that Schechter's relationship with Mr. Mack has up for opposing my client, but I do not see concerns, that the proposal should be denied or, should be by the committee. We've tried to reach out to her. We've consulted extensively with the neighborhood and the community, and, Schchter was invited to that Zoom call and she chose not to come and decided to oppose us in the last few weeks. At the end of the day, I think these variances are minor, rise keeping with the eclectic character of the neighborhood, and it's my respectful submission that they should be approved. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Panel, do you have any questions? Okay, go into committee. Do you have any comments, or do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I can start with some comment. I do agree with the analysis by the applicant. This is an area that with all forms, height, and expression of architecture. And I think that the new build is more or less the same as the existing. And I do not see any problem with that. And also looking at the variances, they still consider to be minor to me. And I'm waiting for other people to comment. Otherwise, I do have a motion for approval with conditions, forestry conditions too.
All right. Any other comments? Sahir?
Just to concur with Ms. Chan, when I look at all the variances and the reality that the house is not a safe structure existing, it's got to be brought down. The new structure doesn't seem to be at all out of keeping with the neighborhood. It seems to be almost in the exact same footprint as the existing structure. The new structure will be on the new old structure. So I would be willing to support Ms. Chan should she bring forward a motion.
Yes, Joanne?
I just wondered whether or not you'd consider, with respect to the depth variance, tying it to plans, because the main structure, the dwelling itself is only 17.91, but they're asking for 20.08 because of the basement level. I just wondered if you'd consider tying it to plans just
To
because of
site-
that, for
It's the site plan,
clarity.
right? Okay, yeah, okay, I will tie it to the site plan, suggested. And forestry, condition number 2.
So to the revised site plan, because this is an amended application, they deleted variance number 7.
Yes, that's true, it's the variance that's amended.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have a seconder here? All right, all in favor of the motion? Have your approval, sir, thank you. Number 29. 38 Menon Road. Purpose of the application is to alter the existing two-story detached dwelling by constructing a rear two-story addition and a rear ground floor deck. And we only have material submitted by the applicant on this application. Mr. Enriquez?
Good afternoon. My name is Tony Henriquez. I'm the applicant for this application. My address is 543 Concord Avenue.
Yes. Okay. I think we don't need a presentation, Mr. Enriquez. Could you, do you have anything, comment before we take it into committee?
No, I don't.
All right, thank you. Panel, do you have any questions? Joanne?
No questions. I'm prepared to start the discussion. I think this is indeed minor, certainly not out of character. What the variances are individually and cumulatively, I believe, minor, and I'd be prepared to bring a motion to approve the application, no conditions.
All right.
I'll second that motion.
All right, thank you. All in favor? Motion passed. You have your approval, sir. Number 30, 912 Danforth Avenue. The purpose of this application is to alter the existing two-story mixed-use building by performing interior alterations and constructing a new third-story addition. With this application, we have material submitted by the applicant. We have correspondence from transportation, staff report from planning, and support from 928 Danforth Avenue. Mr. Boone?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Can we have your name and address for the record?
My name is John Boone, architect. My address is 51 Arundel Avenue, Toronto, and I'm acting as agent for the owners.
Okay, I don't think we need a presentation, Mr. Boone. Do you have anything to say before we take it into committee?
No, all's good.
Okay, thank you. Committee, do you have any, panel, do you have any questions? Okay, yes, Nimrod?
Go ahead, Nimrod, sorry.
Okay, I think the variances are minor. Most of them relate to the existing building. So I would move approval of the variances subject to conditions of community planning.
All right, do we have a seconder?
I'll
Yes,
second that, Mr. Chair.
Sahir. Okay, all in favor? You have your approval, sir. Thank you. Number 31, 126 Wells Street. Purpose of this application is to alter the existing two-story semi-detached dwelling by constructing a third-floor addition with a rear deck and a front dormer. With this application, we have material submitted by the applicant, a report from Urban Forestry, and 5 form letters in support. Mr. Hatch?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Could we have your name and your address, please?
Jonathan Hatch, representing 126 Wells Street, 6 Bishop Street, Toronto, Ontario.
Okay, so it's Jonathan Hatch,
Yes,
not Stewart.
that's my brother.
Yeah, okay, good. All right, so I don't think we need a presentation from you, Mr. Hatch. Do you have any comments to make before we take it into committee?
No, I think the application's fairly clear. We're building right on top of the existing footprint, matching the existing heights. It's a very modest proposal for a rear addition that won't impact the streetscape.
All right, thank you. Panel, do you have any questions? Any comments, or do we have a motion? Yes, here.
I'd like to concur with the applicant that this is a very modest proposal and it meets the tests. I would like to bring forward a motion to approve the application as is.
But subject
I
to
think there's a
forestry conditions. Yeah, number
That's right,
two.
there's a forestry condition.
Number two,
That's right.
okay,
Forestry condition number 2 subject to that.
okay. Yim, are you seconding the motion? All right, all in
Yes.
favor? Thank you. All in favor? Yim, you have your approval, sir. Thank you very much. Number 32, 237 Parkview Hill Crescent. The purpose of this application is to construct a new 2-story detached dwelling with an integral garage, front porch, rear deck, 2nd-story balcony, and a rear basement walkout. With this application, we have material submitted by the applicant. We have a report from planning and urban forestry. Mr. Gain?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. This is Trevor Gain. I'm the applicant here on behalf of the owners. My address is 10 Celebrity Place in Markham.
Okay, so it doesn't look like we need a presentation, sir. Do you have anything to say before we take it into committee?
Nothing really, Mr. Chair. It's a fairly simple, straightforward application, very typical what's happening in the area. Our immediate neighbors are actually building a house right now. We have 3 simple minor variances, and we're aware of the planning report and the conditions. We totally accept both conditions, forestry and the privacy screen on each side of our proposed balcony.
Okay, thank you. Panel, do you have any questions, comments, or do we have a motion? Yes, Joanne?
I'll bring a motion. Through you, Mr. Chair, I believe, agree with the applicant that what's being requested is indeed minor. What's being proposed is not out of character. I would move to approve the application subject to forestry condition number 3 and the conditions in the planning report with respect to screening.
Do we have a seconder? Is it here? All right, all in favor? Have your approval, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 33, 37 Salmon Avenue. Purpose of this application is to alter the existing 2-story detached dwelling by constructing a rear deck and to maintain the existing driveway. And we have on this application material submitted by the applicant, a report from planning, and 3 form letters in support. Mr. Dunlop?
Hi, Mr. Chair. It's Ryan Dunlop, 600 Fleet Street, Toronto.
Okay, so I don't think, Mr. Dunlop, we need a presentation. Do you have anything to say before we take it into committee?
No, I think everything that we have here, I think, is relatively straightforward, and yeah, I look forward to your approval.
All right, thank you.
Can you just confirm you're deleting variance number 5 and revising variance number 2?
That is correct, yeah.
Can you just state for the record what the change is?
Yeah, so the item number 2, that was the, we're changing that one to 0.82 meters. 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 0.82 meters Yeah, there was no change to,
I think it was variance number 3 that was being changed.
yes. Yeah, it was from 27 to 37 percent soft landscaping was
Is
the
it 37 or 37.8?
37.8.
And do you have the square meters for that?
Give me 1 second. That was 77.68 square meters.
Thank you.
No problem.
All right, so panel, do you have any questions, any more questions, or do you have any comments, or do you have a motion?
You know, and just, and I didn't quite hear, was variance number 5 being deleted?
That's correct.
Okay. Do we have any comments, or do we have a motion? Yes, Yim?
Yeah, I have a motion here with the amendment and also the deletion of number 5. I consider all the variants are minor, and I'd like to move for approval with the condition that the approval is tied to the revised site plan dated July 21st.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Yes, Nimrod, all in favor? Have your approval, sir, thank you.
Thank you.
Number 34, 156 Woody Crest Avenue. Purpose of this application to alter the existing two-story detached dwelling by constructing a rear two-story addition. With this application, we have material submitted by the applicant and 4 form letters in support. Mr. Dunlop,
Yes,
you're back?
I'm back.
Okay. Give us your, again, for the record, give us your name and your address.
Sure. It's Ryan Dunlop, 600 Fleet Street in Toronto.
Okay. I don't think we need a presentation on this one either. So do you have anything to say?
No, I think everything here is relatively straightforward, so.
Okay, thank you. Panel, do you have any questions? Yes, Joanne?
Just one question with respect to the lot coverage. Do you have any examples of others that have a similar lot coverage?
Not off the top of my head. Just given the site constraints and the depth of the property, and then the garage and everything like that we have there as well, that's kind of constraining us. So that's the one downside to the depth of the lot.
And have you seen the report from planning, and are you okay with the condition that they're suggesting with respect to the permeable pavers?
Yeah, we were in contact with in discussions with city planning on that, so we're fine with that one.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Any further comments, questions? Do we have a motion? Yes, Nimrod?
Yeah, I think the variances are minor, especially lot coverage one. I think it's reflective of the very narrow lot dimension. This is only a 8-meter wide lot. And so I would move approval of the variances subject to the condition of community planning.
All right, do we have a seconder? Joanne, all in favor? Have your approval, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Number 35, 217 B Leslie Street. Purpose of this application is to alter the existing two-story semi-detached dwelling by constructing a rear second-story addition and enclosing the front porch. With this application, we have material submitted by the applicant, a report from planning, and 5 form letters in support. Mr. Smith?
Hello, Mr. Chair. Jay Smith, agent for 217 B Leslie Street.
Yes, could we have your name and address, please?
It's Jay Smith, 2814 Hollington Crescent, Mississauga.
Thank you. I don't think we need a presentation. Do you have any comments to make before we take it into committee?
No, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Panel, do you have it? Yes, Joanne?
No questions, Mr. Chair, but I'll start the discussion. I think that the application is minor. The existing FSI is 0.88. The front yard soft landscaping is reflective of what exists. The houses on this stretch are very close to the lot line. The front porch being enclosed is not uncharacteristic, and if my colleagues have no further comments, I'd be prepared to make a motion to approve the application subject to the planning condition.
Okay. Yes, here.
I'll second that, sorry.
Okay. All in favor? Have your approval, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, number 36, 108 Drury Street. Purpose of this application is to construct a 2-story duplex with a rear ground floor balcony, a rear second floor balcony with staircase access to the rear yard, a front porch, and a rear detached garage. With this application, we have material submitted by the applicant, report from right-of-way management, correspondence in support from 2265 Bloor West and 117 and 106 Drury Street. We have concerned correspondence from 1 and 2 Ostend and opposition from the ratepayers, Swansea area ratepayers, and 3, 4, and 5 Ostend. Mr. Tomas Goral. We can't understand you.
We can't hear you, but Mr. Chair, if you want, I can give him a call.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yes.
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Perfect, sorry about that.
Okay. Can we have your name and, can we have your
Yes,
name and
for sure.
address, sir?
Absolutely. Good afternoon, Chairman and committee members. My name is Thomas Grau. I am the applicant for the homeowner of the subject property. We'd like to defer today because of the concern from the neighborhood in regards to mostly the green space. We do want to work with them, so we do want to defer today and then come back and present another day.
Okay. We will have to take it up with the neighbors and see what their position is on a deferral. So,
Sure.
if I can go to Mr. Halleck.
Sorry, can we just ask a question of the applicant? He said that the only reason for the deferral was to deal with, was it just the landscaping?
Mostly the landscape, because that was the concern of the majority of the neighborhood.
I guess I heard, I mean, from the comments we got, I thought there were concerns about overdevelopment.
I think in regards to the garage, they made a comment about the garage that it was too large. Yes, that is true. But it is
So I'm
only
just
a 1.5,
trying to-
so it is something, as we address the landscape, we will discuss with them about the garage, but ideally we'd like to keep the garage because it is only a 1.5 car garage, so we don't feel it's quite large. But if it comes to an agreement, if we can make an agreement with the neighbors, we will scale it down to maybe a 1-car garage.
Okay, but in any event, you're gonna discuss your entire application, but the concerns that have been expressed are landscape in the garage. Is that right?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Correct, yes.
All right, thank you. Are you okay, Nimrod?
Yes, I just wanted to get a clarification on what was the reason for the deferral.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Halleck?
Hello, yes, I'm the owner. I agree with my architect, Mr.
okay.
Burrell, to defer, so we will review the concerns and objections that were submitted to us.
Okay, all right,
in a
thank
neighborly
you.
fashion.
Thank you, sir. I'm sorry, I didn't realize you were the owner. Victoria Wynn?
Unmuted? Yeah, thank you. I'm Veronica Wynn, the president of the Swansea Area Ratepayers Association.
Okay, so the issue, Ms. Wynn, is the applicant has asked for a deferral to take some time to talk to the neighbors and to address your concerns. So do you object to a deferral?
I would agree to a deferral if it also included, we have strong issues with actually the building itself. You know, the absence of a designation of a secondary suite and
Okay,
also.
all right, Ms. Wynn,
So
I don't
would
want,
like
I don't want
add
to,
those in.
I don't want to address the issues at this point. I asked the agent whether they're prepared to address the entire application, and he said yes. So
Okay.
I take it that you're in favor of deferral for that purpose.
Right, I thought he was just going to deal with the garage and the, whatever, the green space. But if it's the whole application, yes.
Okay, thank you. Tara Christie?
Yep, I'm in support of deferral again, so long as we're gonna discuss the entire application. Because green space, yes, is part of it, but also the building mass as well, and Veronica's concerns.
Okay, can we have your name and address for the record?
Yep, my name is Tara Kruski at 4 Ostend Avenue.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Gorell?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you heard that the neighbors want to address not just the landscaping, they want to address the whole application.
Yeah, I heard that. I guess we'll have some conversations and we'll see what happens.
Okay, thank you. Panel, do you have any questions, comments, or do we have a motion with respect to the issue of deferral? Yes, Joanne?
Thank you. Given the degree of submissions we've received on a number of factors on this application, and the applicant's stated willingness to enter into some dialogue, I believe it would be appropriate to defer the application to allow those discussions to come forward and see whether or not it results in any changes to the application or resolution of the concerns.
Okay, so that's your motion's in favor of
Yes.
deferral? All right, do we have a
Yes.
seconder? Nimrod? You second it? Okay, all in favor? You have your deferral, sir, thank you.
Just so the applicant is aware, we're rescheduling applications at the moment for November, so that's the earliest you would be scheduled.
That's soon. Number 37, 299 Russell Hill Road. Purpose to construct a 3-story detached dwelling with an integral garage, front porch, rear deck, 3rd-story balcony, a swimming pool, and detached shed in the rear of the lot. And with this application, we have material submitted by the applicant, correspondence from planning, and four form letters in support. Mr. Rotundo?
Yes, Mr. Chair, it's Richard Wengel, actually. Richard Wengel, architect, the principal. Mr. Rotundo, there's just an error. I'm the architect, and I'll be acting on behalf of our client.
Okay, Mr. Wengel.
And it's 102 Avenue Road.
Yeah, for the 260th time, we need your address and phone and your name, but we got it now.
Yes,
So-
yes, Richard Wengel, 102 Avenue Road, Toronto.
Yeah, okay. So, Mr. Wengel, there's a lot of variances. Could you give us a brief presentation?
Yes, Mr. Chair. If we can just go to our presentation package, and I will just note there are 5 letters of support that have been mailed in, as well as a verbal support from our neighbor, that both neighbors on both sides of us are in agreement with our proposal. We are making just a slight modification to our stairs at the side of the proposal. It doesn't affect any of our variances. That's just to assist the neighbor with a concern, but we do have an agreement with them. If I could just ask you to turn to page 2. Thank you. This is the site plan. It just shows our existing home. There is some length of dwelling and depth of dwelling added to the home, primarily to assist with some below-grade parking and a 1-story addition that extends beyond the house and essentially replaces a detached garage that's on the left-hand side towards the bottom of the page that sort of mimics its location. It's a form on the street that we've done about a dozen times before and have, I think, used it as sort of a model for some of the newer homes we've been designing. A lot of the variants are attributed to some of the overhangs and some of the landscape steps, but I may just ask you to turn to page number 3. It just shows the front elevation and shows the minor variance for the height requested under the new bylaw and the old bylaw, which is essentially only 0.12 meters over and 0.32 on the old bylaw calculation. Page 4 will show a density chart of previously approved densities in the area. Again, I can speak to this as I've developed about 20 houses on this street, many with similar variances. We are asking for approximately 0.866, and there are several in the area, in the immediate area, that are in the 87, 88 range, and upwards of 87 to 99 within a 5-minute walk of this property. Page number 5 just shows length of dwelling approvals in the area as well. We can just switch to page number 5, and you'll be able to see our site in blue and other sites similarly. In fact, there are some in the 40 meter range. Again, this is due to the attached garage underground, creating an urban parking solution where I can have 3 cars underground and have just a single garage entrance. And then page number 6 will show a height map of the immediate area. Again, we're asking for a height of 11.12, and you'll see similarly heights of over 12 meters in within a block of this that have been approved at committee. And then page number 5, or number 6, 7 is a rendering that we're just showing. It's a bit of an Art Deco inspired house. I believe this does pass the Ford test. It is minor. It does fit the character of the neighborhood, and certainly with the new developments, and I can answer any questions that committee may have of me.
Okay, so Mr. Wengel, you said something about you're making a change to the stairs to accommodate a neighbor. I know it didn't affect any of the variances, but have you submitted those plans?
No, it's just an agreement with the neighbor. We're going to reduce a number of the risers at the side of the house. It doesn't affect the variance. They stay intact. We're just lowering our mudroom by approximately 30 centimeters, but it's an agreement between the neighbor and our client.
Okay, so it's not reflected in any revised plans, so
that's correct.
It won't be part of our approval.
No, it will be just an agreement with the neighbor in their understanding.
Okay, all right. Panel, do you have any questions? Any comments? Do we have a yes, Joanne?
I just have one question. Thank you very much for all the diagrams showing where other permissions were given. Is there any of those addresses that have like a combination of a depth
FSI and height is being requested? I know you provided us with each variance separately, but
Yes,
can you point to any addresses where there is?
I can attest that I live across the road from this, and I have a house that's approximately 4 meters longer, has a higher height, because when we built this, we used to have 12-meter heights, and I have a density in the high 60s, although the difference on this is that in the 3rd floor, that's where we're putting extra density itself, is just attributed that roof will be there regardless, and it's just become more common practice in this area where within a roof, because it's still physically there, we're just adding density. Just about 3 or 4 weeks ago, we were approved on Dunvegan for approximately 87% with the same kind of footprint and the same length. And that was at number 235 Dunvegan, which is up a few blocks. And we also have another house just north of this at 305 Russell Hill Road that had a density of 78%. Again, almost the identical footprint, but the difference with that one was that we put a little more density in the roof this time. So again, when I look at a number, it can sound high, but the physicality of the house fits the character. And again, I've done this kind of model about a dozen times up the street and on Dunvegan and on Forest Hill Road.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Do we have a motion? Yes, Nimrod.
I'm going to move approval of the requested variances. I think given the character of the new development in this area and the extent of new development, I think that what's being proposed fits that character and is compatible. And so I would move approval of the variances subject to urban forestry condition number 1.
All right, do we have a seconder? Yes, Joanne. Okay, all in favor? You have your approval, Mr. Wengel, thank you. Number 38, 107 Winnett Avenue. Purpose of this application is to alter the existing 2-story detached dwelling by constructing a 3rd-story addition with a 3rd-story front balcony. With this application, we have material submitted by the applicant, support from 105 and 5 form letters, opposition from 117 and 115 Winnett. Ms. Smith?
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Sandy Smith and I'm at 10 Overdale Road in Toronto and I'm the agent. The proposed project is to alter an existing 2-story detached with a home with a 3rd-story addition. We are seeking approval of 2 variances. A proposed side exterior main wall facing the north lot line is 8.7 meters versus the allowable 8.5, and the proposed floor space index of 1.06 versus the allowable 0.8. In 2020, the client received a building permit for a rear 2-story addition, which was delayed due to COVID and is currently under construction. This past year, the client had a desire to increase their living space. I would like to clarify one of the variances regarding the height of the side exterior wall facing the north lot line. The side wall is measured for the new side dormer, which is within the existing footprint of the house and would have no negative impact to the surrounding neighbors. The client has talked to all the neighbors and reviewed their intended proposal with them. To date, they have received 6 letters of support and we have 2 letters of objection. And we have responded to the remarks in a cover letter dated July 26, which I have sent to the committee. We have met with the next door neighbor at 115 Wells, letter of objection of July 13th, to hear their concerns regarding the change of light and views from their yard. While we appreciate this proposed addition involves some gentle change to existing conditions, we feel that the changes are in fact minor in nature. Recent search of committee adjustment for similar proposed third-story additions have revealed that other proposals have been approved for a similar increase in floor space and similar increase in maximum height of sidewalls. We feel that the proposed floor space index and height reflect a scale and massing which is in keeping with the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw and the existing physical character of the area. Thank you.
All right, panel, any questions? Okay, Mr. DeEath or Miss Wells?
Hello.
Hello?
Yeah, this is Paul Death at 115 Winnett Avenue.
Yes?
I am co-owner with Diane Wells. We have objected, along with our neighbor at 117, on the grounds that the proposed extension at the rear of the 107 will be too high, and it will dominate the rear of our property and adjacent properties. The extension of the third story above the new extension at the back will substantially block light to the rear of our property, the master bedroom, and the main living room, especially in the late fall, winter, and spring. Our property 115 is north of 107 and immediately adjacent, only 2 feet separating the houses. We believe it will impact the enjoyment of our property and may adversely impact the equity in the home.
So,
and we think that
Mr. DeEath, I just want to point out to you, and I think this is a problem that many people face when they see these applications. The permitted height is 8.5 meters. That's the side exterior main wall. There's no variance for a total height. It's only for this one side exterior wall on the north side. And they're asking for 0.2 more meters than is allowed. So 8.5 is permitted, they're asking for 8.7. They could build 8.5 as of right, not have to come here. So does that difference of 0.2 meters impact you?
Well, we think that the character of the neighborhood is to have a two-story extension with a flat roof. What we have is a 3-story extension with a pitched roof. So our understanding is that it goes against the character of the neighborhood. There are no, as far as I'm aware, 3-story structures on Winnett Avenue from Vaughan Road to Mill Manor in the south. And we feel it will be a dominating presence on the street. Furthermore, although as the site also has a 2-story studio structure at the rear of the property, it will reduce the amount of space available in the backyard to, I believe, 35 square meters. To me, this is overbuilding. Quite apart from the adverse impact it will have upon the enjoyment of my property.
Okay. Panel, do you have any questions? Okay. Ms. Smith?
We have spoken to the neighbor about his concerns, and we appreciate what he has to say. This change in his site and his views is gentle and won't adversely impact him.
Okay, Mr. Deeth, please let Ms. Smith speak. You've had your chance.
Please watch your language, and can he please be muted by staff? Thank you.
I'm sorry, I'm speechless. So we still feel that there's two variances, and they're minor in nature, and we hope the proposal is passed by the Committee of Adjustment.
All right, thank you. Panel, any questions? Yes, Joanne?
Hi, I might have missed this in your initial submission. Can you speak to the FSI variance, and is that representative of other FSIs that exist in the area?
Yes, in one of the supporting documents that I sent, I did list several other proposals in the neighborhood that have an increase of FSI from anywhere between 1.34, 1.10, that's 1.06 is what we're asking for. So there is increase in the neighborhood that have been approved for similar FSIs.
Thank you.
Okay, any further questions, panel? Any comments, or do we have a motion? Yes, Zaire.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to bring forward a motion. I do believe that the requested variances are minor, and this is not out of keeping with what is permitted by much. So I do believe that this is an appropriate application that's been brought forward to us. Because of that, I'd like to propose that we, propose a motion to accept the application as is.
All right. Yim, you second that motion?
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
All in favor? All in favor? You have your approval. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Number 39, 34 Tran B Avenue. The purpose of this application is to alter the existing three-story detached dwelling by constructing a rear two-story addition, a rear deck, and a rear third-story addition. We have on this application material filed by the applicant, a report from Ravina Natural Features, and correspondence in opposition from 7 or 8 addresses on Bernard Avenue. Mr. Chan.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and committee members. My name is Christian Chan of C2 Planning, Suite 138157, Adelaide Street, West Toronto, Ontario. We are the land use planning consultants for the owner of the property, Gurdev Aurora. And if you'd like for me to go into a presentation, I have
yes, there's opposition, Mr. Chan, so we better have your presentation.
Great, thank you, Mr. Chair. So our client is seeking relief from the variances identified in the notice for a building designed, or the additions designed by J. Barmy of Living Box Architecture for a new first, second, and third story addition and a rear ground floor deck. So there are no comments from planning staff for heritage planning. Urban forestry condition number 2 is sought in this application, and we've received a letter of support from 42 Tran B. So the proposed additions are for a kitchen on the main floor, master bedroom on the second floor, and squaring off a dormer on the third floor. The third floor dormer is 1.22 meters square, so it's about 3 square feet for the third floor. Otherwise, the bulk of the variances are relating to the main and second floor addition on the proposal. So as I mentioned, the subject site has a heritage building. It's listed. It's designated also as a Part 4 HCD in the East Annex. So there's no alterations for the existing front or street elevation, so heritage did not comment. With regards to the immediate context, we noticed that the site is located on a street that has 2 to 3 story detached and semi-detached homes, as well as townhouses. Interesting to note is that these lots on Tran B on the north side are about 23 meter lot depth, whereas for the most of the lots in the East Annex neighborhood, the lot depths are between 37 meters and 41 meters. So we're talking about a lot that has a lot depth that's significantly below the standard lot depth that exists in the East Annex. So with regard to the variances, if I could please ask staff to show page 1 of the rear yard setback map that we'd submitted. So here we can see variance number 1. We did calculations on this map showing all the rear yard setbacks on the north side. And as you may note here, on the easterly adjacent home has a 2-story addition. That's also included in the photo book that has been submitted of 5.92 meters. So we're proposing a higher rear yard setback than as exists immediately to the east of the property. So this setback variance is for the east, for the first and second floor addition. Regarding policy 4.1.5G of the official plan, with regards to rear side yard setbacks and open space patterns, you can see here in the map the character of the immediate context is of smaller rear yards than on nearly all the properties on Tran B, especially on the north side. So in our opinion, the proposal respects and reinforces this prevailing pattern. On the north side, the variance is triggered because the Tran B lots do have smaller lot depths, as I mentioned before, 23 meters compared to any other street in the East Annex. So in some cases, you have lot depths that are almost 2 times deeper than my client's lot. So with regards to the FSI, the existing FSI is 1.08, so there's going to be, the proposal is for a 0.18 increase in the FSI, which is represented by 32.2 meter squares, or about 360 square feet for the totality of all the additions. So again, the COA members should consider that the lots on Tran B have small lot areas because of the shallower lot depths, thereby increasing the relative FSI of the buildings on Tran B for approved and existing gross floor areas in comparison to the other deeper and larger lots in the East Annex, even with those with the same frontages. So increases in FSI have already been approved in the immediate context in the geographic East Annex neighborhood. For example, 53 Bernard with 1.11, 67 Tran B, 1.14, 1.4 times on 42 Tran B, 1.34 times on 58 Boswell, 1.3 times on 247 Bedford Road, and 1.32 times on 107 Bedford Road. So if the FSI was being proposed on a normal sized lot, we did our calculations, the proposed FSI would end up at between 0.75 and 0.79. So with regards to the rear platform, the requested variance is 1.38 beyond the maximum. The variance again is resulting from the shallower lot depths on Tran B, so that means that any rear deck that's being proposed will get closer to the required rear yard setback, or the rear lot line. So the shallower lot depth means that any structure that would be as of right on the lot in Bernard, for example, would require variances on the 23 meter lots on Tran B. So I note that there are letters of opposition which we have reviewed, but I will respond to that after the deputants have spoken. But in our opinion, and for the reasons above, the variance requested satisfy the 4 tests, and we recommend their approval subject to the condition number 2 of urban forestry. Thank you very much.
Right, thank you. Panel, any questions? Okay, let's move on to Mr. Sakaris or Mr. Dickinson.
Hey, my name is John Sakaris. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Rufus and I live at 23.
Well, Mr. Sakaris, perhaps you could speak a little louder or speak into the microphone. We could hear you, but not very well.
Well, that's been my problem, actually listening. Is that any better?
Yes, it is.
Okay. It's John Sakaris. I live at 23 Bernard Avenue, and I am in the property directly behind the Tran B proposals. I should start off by saying there has been no approach of any of the neighbors on the Bernard side about the effects of this addition in terms of privacy, in terms of our privacy of our yards. So what indeed will happen is that a deck on the top of the second floor will overlook our gardens. Pushing the actual 2-story addition back closer to our yards makes it we think, certainly I think, that it is intruding and intrusive in relationship to my privacy. So I'm not exactly sure from looking at the plans where the windows will be, but there will have to be windows at that back part of the property. And I should also, and so that affects our privacy in terms of our yards. In essence, what our yards become are the nice way for the people on Tran B to look at, which is fine, as long as there's no effect on our privacy. I should point out that I have two huge trees right on the lot line of the house in question, and I'm concerned with the forestry report whether digging of any kind of structure for assuming basement will affect the tree root system. And frankly, if our tree is affected by that, it would make a huge mess. So the trees are also fairly important to us in terms of making sure that they're part of the proposal. They do mention the ones that are on that lot, but not the ones that are on the lots directly behind this house. So again, we feel that the idea of our privacy is being affected by this addition. I don't know that it's necessary to have more decking at the bottom and a deck on the third floor. So that's our concern, and I wish we had been approached by the owners because we're the ones who are affected by his proposal. And all my neighbors on the side were quite surprised by it, and some of them didn't get a chance to respond because they have been away. So anyway, that's my general approach here. They have small yards, and we understand that. It's part of the deal, but as long as it doesn't affect our backyards, I think development, of course, is something that we could accept. But don't know that this is the case with this proposal. Anyway, thank you.
All right, thank you. Mary Kelly?
Yes, hello. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you very much for allowing me to speak. I am Mary Kelly, and I own 25 Bernard Avenue. And I just would like to voice my objection as it relates to the structure and most especially the encroachment. He is very correct in his presentation that the lots on Tran B are quite short, and that is, the nature of those lots. The lots on Bernard are not, and so the fact that this home will be encroaching almost all the way to the lot line and the fence is very concerning to me, especially with the height. So I don't see it as a minor change. I do see it as a very important issue to address as it relates to both privacy and the fact that this will be encroaching almost all the way to the end of the lot line. So we are worried about the precedent that this will be setting on Tran B. And I, again, want to thank you. I'm not an expert at the Committee of Adjustments, but I do know that it is very concerning to us because of the privacy and also the issues of the encroachment. And so the sound and the noise and everything that will be coming from someone having that deck right there up against our fences are very close. So that is my concern, and again, I would agree with John, and I want to thank you for allowing me to speak.
All right, thank you. Any questions, panel? Kate Carconi?
She's not here. I've tried to reach out. She hasn't responded.
Not available. Mr. Chan?
Hello, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate the submissions by the surrounding neighbors. We did do a review of their letters and have some responses prepared for them, so I'll go to those now. Pardon me. So with regard regards to the rear yard setback, I'd just like to note that Mr. Sakaris has a rear yard setback that's about 2 times the required rear yard setback of 7.5 meters. On our measurements on our page 1 of our rear yard setback map, we can see here that Mr. Sakaris' rear yard is approximately 15 meters, which again is 2 times the rear yard setback. With regards to privacy impacts of the proximity of the buildings, the proposed building is not seeking any length or depth variances. So when this is being proposed, we have a situation where we have a smaller lot on the southerly lots, a shallower lot, sorry, and we have deeper lots on the northerly lots. So if we were to apply the zoning bylaw in terms of the building separation distances, in terms of the lot depths, and also building depths that could be produced on the site, the building separation distances with regards to impacts of building and massing are simply not there. Again, we have an over 20-meter distance between the buildings, and if Mr. Sakaris were to seek a development proposal, they would also be subject to the same zoning bylaws and be limited for their building depth of 17 or 19 meters from their required front yard setback. So in terms of future impacts, I don't see any. With regards to increasing, with regards to the deck, there are no variances for the deck on the 3rd floor. And also I'd like to stress and highlight that the proposal that is before you today is to a lesser extent and a greater rear yard setback than currently exists at number 32 Tran B. With regards to the trees, I can certainly appreciate the concerns with regards to that, and I believe Urban Forestry Commission 2 would address that issue because it would require the submission of a permit to injure or destroy a private mature tree on the property subject to Chapter 813 of the Municipal Code. I can also appreciate Ms. Kelly's comments. I'd just like to also note and reiterate regarding what we're seeing before us here for a total floor area of all 3 levels of the additions of approximately 320 square feet. So this is about the size of a large living room that is being proposed over the course of 3 stories. That being 157 square feet for a kitchen on the main floor, about 150 square feet for a master bedroom on the 2nd floor, and then 3 square feet for squaring off a dormer on the 3rd floor. So when we're talking about precedents, I did explain to the committee earlier in my initial presentation that in our opinion there are no precedents that are going to be set with this application, especially with regard to the existing house at number 32 that has a closer rear yard setback with a fuller addition that exists in the rear yard. And again, I'd like to highlight and stress that the existing character of the immediate context has smaller rear yard setbacks, and the proposal will respect and reinforce the existing physical character that you see before you. And those are my submissions. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Chan, just a couple of questions. So the variance number 3 relates to a deck on the 1st level?
That is correct.
Okay, so the only invasion of privacy might be from a 2nd story window in this proposed 2-story addition? Or
yes, if I could direct you, Mr. Chair, to and staff to drawing number A103. In fact, when I look at the plans and the elevations, in elevation plan number A201, there is no deck proposed on top of the roof of the proposed addition. So there's a Juliet balcony, I believe, that's proposed there now on A103, as you can see.
Yeah.
So with respect to Mr. Sakaris's concerns for an upper story deck, there will be no deck on top of the proposed addition.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying, that the only overlook might be from the 2nd 2-story or the 3-story addition at the rear, and it might be from a window. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct, and I would submit to you, sir, that the privacy impact will not produce any adverse impact because the 2nd story addition is proposed to be a bedroom, and when we're considering the use of the room, views out of the bedroom during the day, I don't believe will create adverse impacts because bedrooms typically aren't used during the daytime.
Right, but in any event, you're only asking for a variance to 6.34 meters when the permitted is 7.5 meters. So you're only asking for a small variance, and you're only a little bit closer to the rear lot line than you would have been as of right. Is that right?
That's correct, sir. And just to also note again that number 32 Tran B in fact has a 5.92 meter rear yard setback, so it's in fact more than what is being proposed here today. So if there are any perceived impacts, that impact is an existing impact in the physical character of the immediate context.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chan. Panel, any questions of Mr. Chan?
Just
Yes.
one quick one, if I may. Mr. Chan, have you had any feedback from your immediate neighbors, either side?
We received no comments from the immediate neighbors. However, we did receive a letter of support from number 42.
Thank you.
Approximately 5 houses to the west.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Panel, do you have any comments? Do we have a motion? Yes, Joanne?
Just one question. So on the third story at the back, that's a Juliet balcony with glass railings?
That's correct, as seen on A103.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any comments? Do we have a motion? Is that here?
No question, but if nobody's ready, I'd like to bring forward a motion to approve the application as presented.
The forestry.
Subject to forestry condition number 2, I believe, yes.
2, yes. Do we have a seconder? Yim? All in
Yes,
favor?
I would like to second that, and also want to add a comment that the explanation of the addition is really minor, and I think although it's encroached into the setback, I think there's still quite a considerable distance from the houses behind because they have really deep lots there. So I do not think there will be too much of privacy problem there. So I will second it.
Yep. All in favor? You have your approval, sir. Thank you. Number 40. 805 O'Connor Drive. Purpose of the application to alter the existing 2-story commercial building containing a veterinary hospital by constructing a rear 1-story addition with a rooftop deck. With this application, we have only material submitted by the applicant, Mr. Manuel.
Mr. Manuel, you've been unmuted, so you can go ahead and maybe unmute yourself on your device.
Can you hear?
Yes, we can hear you, I think.
Okay. Okay, my name is Kevin Manuel, and I'm at 55 Town Center Court in Toronto.
Okay, I don't think, Mr. Manuel, we need a presentation. Do you have any comment to make before I take it into committee?
No, Mr. Chair, I think this is very simple.
Yes, it is. Thank you very much. Panel, any questions, comments, or better still, a motion? Nimrod?
Yeah, I'm prepared to move a motion. There's only one variance, and it's for parking, and the variance is minor, so I'd like to move approval of the variance.
We have a seconder, Joanne. All in favor? Have your approval, sir. Thank you. Number 4148 Pearson Avenue. Purposes of this application is to construct a new 1-story detached garage in the rear yard. We have material submitted by the applicant, opposition from 50 Pearson Avenue. Mr.
Soki?
Soki, thank you. Yeah, can we have your full name and your address, please?
Yes, my name is Bart Soki. I'm at 257 Margaretta Street in Toronto, Ontario.
Okay, I don't think, sir, we need a presentation. Do you have any comments before I take it into a committee?
No, I think our documentation is sufficient.
Yes, thank you. Panel, any questions, comments, or do we have a motion? Yes, Joanne?
I'd be prepared to move a motion. I think that what's being requested in the context of the existing neighborhood and the size of some of the garages that already exist there, it's not out of character. And I would be prepared to move a motion to approve the application.
Seconder? Nimrod, thank you. All in favor? Have your approval, sir. Thank you. Number 42, 292 Bremner Boulevard. Purpose of this application is to construct a new 4-story building for a flying theater known as Flyover Canada, a theater simulator attraction, and ancillary retail uses. With this application, we have materials submitted by the applicant, a report from planning, correspondence in support from addresses on Bremner, Spadina, and Adelaide Avenue, and correspondence and concern from the Toronto Blue Jays. Mr. Butcher.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Joshua Butcher. I'm a planner with Beaconsfield, and we're located at 3 Church Street, Suite 200, Toronto, Ontario, and we're the planning consultants to Flyover Canada, the leasee of the site, which is owned by Canada Lands, a federal crown corporation. And I just also note that I'm joined by Lisa Adams, who's the VP of Flyover Attractions, who's logged on separately. So should the committee request it, Lisa's available to make a short presentation about this exciting tourist attraction and or answer any questions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Have you spoken to the Blue Jays? They seem to be, I mean, they were asking for a deferral. They seem to be concerned about height and blockage of their stadium. So what do you did have some discussions with them?
Yeah, so there has been some extensive correspondence over the last, 3 years. And then as of this afternoon, just because some staffing changeovers, there was some miscommunication about all the kind of work that's been done to date. And there was actually an email sent to the Committee of Adjustment probably 2 or 3 hours ago saying that they withdraw their deferral request and that all the concerns that they have with this application, mostly to do with views of signage, they're quite comfortable that we can resolve this, and they've withdrawn their deferral request. And so now before you are multiple letters of support from the city, the councillor, and adjacent property owners.
All right,
I'm happy to take you through a full presentation if you'd like as well.
Well, we have a speaker in opposition.
Mr. Chair, actually, she's reached out and she won't be able to attend the hearing.
Oh, she's not attending?
Yeah.
Okay. Barbara, do you have an email from the Blue Jays?
I may, but I haven't had time to check my email during the hearing all that regularly.
Okay. All right, so we can rely on Mr. Butcher, I suppose, in advising us.
I'm happy to go through the details of this proposal. I've put together a presentation that if they could pull that up on the screen.
No, I don't think we need a presentation. It just that I was concerned that the Blue Jays had some concerns, but it appears they don't anymore. You've satisfied them. So let me take it to the panel and see. Panel, do we need a presentation? Yes, Joanne?
No, I don't need a presentation. I was just going to say the supplemental material that was filed, which showed all the view corridors, I think addressed, or in terms of was, in my mind, a way to address some of the concerns that have been noted by the Blue Jays. So I'm not discounting the concerns, but it was additional material that was helpful to look at in the context of their initial letter.
Yeah. My problem is I didn't print out properly. Okay.
And
Anyway.
I can confirm that that correspondence was forwarded to Barbara as well. So even though I know she hasn't had a chance to look at her email, it is in there.
Okay, thank you. Panel, any comments, or do we have a motion?
If I may just ask a quick question.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, Mr. Butcher, what exactly is a flying theater?
So it's a 3D ride that will take you on a virtual tour kind of across Canada. So the ride will move physically. So your feet will be dangling and it will actually feel like you're moving across Canada. And then they do this kind of beautiful cinematography where you fly from the west to east coast and there'll be kind of mist and wind. So it will really fit within kind of that mix of tourism and entertainment attractions that are located around the base of the CN Tower there.
It's like a simulator.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, Jim?
Oh, I'd like to make a comment, and I also have a motion. And I'm just learned something very new. You're building something next to CN Tower, you will still have a height variance. And other than that, I would like to move for approval. I do not think there are any conditions. Are there any conditions?
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe there are community planning to tie it to the plans.
Okay, yes, I have that too. Yeah, please add that as condition.
Okay, seconder. Nimrod, thank you. All in favor? You have your approval, sir. Thank you. Number 4377 Northern Dancer Boulevard.
Yes, my name is Andrea Doria. I'm the owner of the
Yes, could you, Miss Doria, could you please wait till I introduce the application? The purpose of this application is to convert the existing one-unit, three-story semi-detached dwelling into a two-unit, three-story semi-detached dwelling by creating a secondary suite in the basement with a front basement walkout, and we only have material submitted by the applicant on this application. Ms. Doria?
Yes. Thank you. I'm the owner of this property. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. And this is the purpose of the application is to try to, as you mentioned, convert the existing one unit into a two-unit, three-story, and having an independent basement, I think, for our son. And there are 4 minor variances. I discussed, I think, I'm not an engineer or an architect, but an engineer that prepared a modified plan, submitted the material to the City of Toronto office. And I had the chance to talk to 5 of my neighbors south and 5 neighbors north, and all of them were supportive of the proposed changes. In terms of the variances, they align with the layout of the basement of
Miss Doria, yes. I don't think we need a presentation. It doesn't seem that there are a lot of variances or that they're very major. So we're just going to take it. We've heard from you. So take it into committee. Do you have a question, Nimrod?
Yeah, I do have a question. This community was developed all at one time, and I'm wondering, are there any other front yard basement walkouts along this?
Yes, yes, this is what I was going to explain. That I had the opportunity to talk to the owner of suite number 67, who had very similar, a very similar project. I have even a picture to show his front and mine, just for you to compare. If you want, if I can share my screen, I can show. I'm not able to share so far.
Yeah. No, I think we've gone through the application.
And I think I'd say he even shared, I think, his plan with the engineer who is taking care of this, and it's exactly the same thing that we're going to do. And I think this is, I think, all the proposed changes are aligned with the layout of the basement of my neighbor. And I think also all the changes that are going to were proposed are minor, and they do not cause any impact on my neighbors. So we believe that these are minor changes already done in another property on the same street.
All right, Ms. Daria, we have Mr. Nimrod has your answer. So. Joanne?
Just one quick question. You mentioned 67. In some of the supplementary material we received, the owner of that seems to suggest that they were able to do their walkout but stayed within the setbacks. Can you just comment on that in terms of just the design, and is your walkout going to be looking different than that walkout in terms of into the front yard, or is it because of how your basement is already configured that it's already further out?
Yes, I think we plan to do very similar to what is shown in this picture. And even he discussed with our engineer, he sent me an email today just mentioning that I think the stairs could be a little bit smoother to be more convenient for people to go down, but this is for our comfort. So it's going to be very similar to this one.
But it will come out a little further forward,
yes,
correct?
Yes, because of the layout of our property, our land.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, do we have any further questions, comments, or a motion? Yes, Joanne?
I'll start. I don't think basement walkouts are a predominant feature in this area. However, there is at least one that exists. I think that this neighborhood, the rear yards are sort of garages back to back, and and many of them are like almost like row houses. So I think that a front walkout to access a secondary suite is in many ways necessary. I think there is one that exists. I think it supports the creation of another unit, and I would be in support of the application.
So is that a motion to approve?
Yes, yes.
All right, thank you. Seconder? So here, all in favor? Have your approval, ma'am. Thank you. Number 4440 Walker Avenue. Purpose of this application is to alter the existing 2.5-story semi-detached dwelling by constructing a front one-story addition and a rear 2-story addition. With this application, we have material submitted by the applicant, correspondence from Ravine and Natural Feature Protection, and correspondence in support from 5 or 6 addresses on Walker Avenue. So, can we hear from Mr. O'Brien?
Yes, good evening.
Yes, could we have your name and address for the record, sir?
My name is Brian O'Brien at 530 Queen Street East.
All right, I don't think we need a presentation, Mr. O'Brien. Do you have any comment to make to the committee before we consider your application?
No, sir.
Thank you. Panel, any questions, comments, or do we have a motion?
Yeah, I'll put forward a motion. I believe the variances are minor in nature, and so I would move approval of the variances.
All right. Joanne, you second that? All in favor? You have your approval, sir. Thank you. Number 45, 7 Brule Terrace. And the purpose of this application is to alter the 3-story, 13-unit apartment building to a 3-story, 15-unit apartment building by converting 2 integral garages into 2 residential dwelling units and creating 3 additional parking spaces in the side yard. Ria El Amin.
Hello, this is Ria Alamin, 21 Dundas Square, Toronto.
Yes. Okay, so we're going to take this into committee because I don't think we need a presentation. Do you have any comments to make before we go into committee?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Panel, any questions, comments, or do we have a motion? Yim?
Yes, I sort of remember this case. It was deferred because of the suffering the how to define the parking spaces, and I will move for approval since there aren't any opposition either, but impose the 2 conditions that suggest by transportation. The staff report.
Right, okay. Joanne, you second that motion? All in favor? Have your approval. Thank you. Okay. Is that the end? Is that the last one? Last hearing I ended, and there was still one left. Okay.
Thank you, members. That was a good hearing.
We finish at 6:36 p.m.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
I
you.
enjoyed that.